All right, so new Office reboot, huh? Big news. And you know what? You guys, you sent in some really interesting takes on this one.
Oh, yeah.
Like, check this out. We got this piece, Texto Pegado. It's in Spanish, right?
Okay.
And the title, it translates to, get this, pasted text. How perfect is that?
That is pretty perfect. Talk about meta, right? Especially
Yeah.
when we're talking about reboots.
Exactly. I mean, are we excited for more Office or dreading another reboot gone wrong?
Because there are definitely both, right?
Yeah.
Some reboots just nail it, others not so much.
It's such a tough thing to get right. And this article, Texto Pegado, they get right into it. They're already kind of nervous about the new show, think it might just be mimicking the original characters too much.
Yeah, like a copy-paste job. I can see why they'd be worried about that.
Like a lazy copycat instead of something new and exciting.
You know, relying too much on nostalgia, it's a real trap. And The Office, come on, we all know it's all about those quirky, lovable characters. So much of what made that show work was those personalities.
Totally.
So if this new show just tries to recreate that, beat for beat, will it feel fresh? Or will it fall flat?
Exactly. Will it feel like a cheap imitation? Like, Texto Pegado even points out some specific character descriptions that have them worried. They call one the Dwight, but a woman.
Oh, interesting.
And then there's another one, some sort of Stan Darrell and Andy Creed hybrid situation happening.
Ooh, okay. So almost like Frankensteining together a new cast instead of letting them be their own people.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? I mean, yeah, those original characters were iconic, but
Right, but they were lightning in a bottle.
you can't just recapture that magic by trying to recreate it.
It's tricky because on the one hand, those character archetypes, they worked. There's a reason those characters resonated with us.
For sure.
So is it a calculated risk? Playing with those familiar dynamics again, maybe hoping to get a similar kind of humor? Or are they just going to leave us with a pale imitation? It's a thin line.
Totally. Like, are they going to be clever about it?
Yeah.
Give a little wink to the audience who knows what they're up to?
Exactly. Because there's a difference between leaning into expectations and just, well, you know.
Oh, totally. And speaking of expectations, remember how the U.S. Office was already a remake?
Oh, right. The original British version.
Yeah, and they had to make some big changes.
Yeah.
Michael Scott, for example.
Yeah.
Completely different vibe.
Had to, right. To connect with a different audience. What works in one place doesn't always translate. Humor is so specific, workplace dynamics, all of it.
It makes you think, right? Like this Texto Pegado piece being in Spanish.
Ooh, yeah. That adds a whole other layer.
It does. Are they looking at this reboot through a different cultural lens? How does that shape their perspective on what will work, what won't work? So interesting.
Absolutely. And it's something we should keep in mind too, right? It's not just a one-to-one remake. There are all these other factors.
Totally. You know what else this article brought up? Dwight and Angela.
Oh, interesting. How could we forget Dwight and Angel?
Right. And how their whole thing
Their whole dynamic, yeah.
started out kind of rough, hated them together at first, but then somewhere along the way.
Totally. You're pulled in. And by the end, you're rooting for them.
Totally hooked. They really made you work for it, though, didn't they?
Oh.
Such a slow burn.
And that's what the author's saying, right? Can the reboot pull that off again?
Hmm.
Especially if they're working with a shorter season, which they mentioned.
Yeah, they said something about 8 episodes.
See, 8 episodes. That's not a lot of time to develop that kind of complex relationship. It could feel rushed,
Yeah, or?
or it could leave people wanting more.
True.
Big gamble either way.
And that's reboots for you, right? A big old gamble. Even Texto Pegado's author, they're kind of hesitant, but admit they'll be watching.
Oh, of course. You got to see how it plays out.
But I actually said morbid curiosity. Like a car crash you can't look away from.
You just got to know.
You've all been there.
It's true. We get sucked in. Curiosity wins.
So, what are we thinking? No crystal ball here, but Texto Pegado gave us some things to chew on, right?
For sure.
To reboot, well, you need that balance. Nostalgia, sure. But also new ideas. You got to know your audience, but not be afraid to subvert those expectations a little.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole cultural context thing.
It's a delicate dance.
Super delicate. Okay, last thought. This is interesting. The article mentions the new boss.
Yeah.
It's a woman, and apparently she's described as being just as repellent as Michael.
Oh, okay.
What if that's a twist?
Interesting.
Like, what if she's the one who really shakes things up,
Right.
breaks the mold? Who knows, right? We'll just have to tune in and see.
Exactly. That's the fun part. Now we wait.